Hello everyone, this is Satyaprakash. Welcome to my channel. This is part 24 of Angular CLI. In this video, I'll discuss what is bundling in Angular CLI for performance of Angular application. So before going through this part 24, please visit my part 23 of Angular CLI, that is how to manage routes in separate module and import it app module. So let's go to my presentation here. So in this session, we'll discuss that how to compile and run an Angular application locally, and what will happen behind the scenes when we compile and run an Angular application, and what is bundling and what are the importance of bundling for performance of Angular application. So guys, so there is one command to build and run our Angular application, that is ng sharp space dash dash open. So have you ever thought about what happened behind the scenes when we execute this command? So behind the scenes, Angular CLI runs Webpack to build and bundle all JavaScript and CSS code. So you can see here so many files has been completed, that is the browser application bundle generation complete. So you can see these files: vendor.js, polyfills.js, styles.css, styles.js, main.js, and runtime.js. Right, so I will show about the details about these files and what are the work of these files. So if I'll go to my presentation here, then you can see that runtime.js, it is the Webpack loader. This file contains Webpack utilities that are needed to load other files. And polyfills.js it is for making our application compatible for different browsers. And styles.css, it contains all styles declared in style section of angular.json file. And script.js, it contains the script we declare in the script section of angular.json file. Vendor.js, it includes all the code from our external libraries. And main.js it contains all application code including components, that is TypeScript, HTML and CSS codes, pipes, directives, services, and all other imported modules, that is including third party. Right, so this is the all details about these files during build and run our application, whatever happening in our behind the scenes of our Angular application. Right, so what is bundling and why is it important for performance? So in our real-time world of Angular application, it is made of many components, right? And each component code is in its own .ts file, so which get transferred to JavaScript, that is to a .js file. So along the same lines, a component may also have a own .css or .scss file for styles. So our Angular application code is in many small files. So in addition to our application code files, we have the vendor code files like Angular, jQuery, right? And web browser have a limit on how many scripts or CSS files they can download simultaneously. So because of this browser limitation, your application may suffer from performance perspective. So if it has many JavaScript and CSS files to download. So bundling can solve this problem by combining many small files, applications, and library files into a few bundles. So as I discussed before, that Angular CLI runs Webpack for building and bundling Angular application. So there are several ways to see these generated bundles. So if you have executed this ng sharp space dash dash open command in a command prompt, then you can build upon so upon build completion, you can see generated bundles in the command prompt. Like this, you can see the initial chunk files, no names, and whatever the sizes, right? So after then you can see here that is browser application bundle generation complete and it is compiled successfully. And if you have executed also using our terminal, if you go to terminal, right, and new terminal, then also you can execute this ng sharp space dash dash open command in VS Code integrated terminal. So upon building completion, you can see the generated bundles as you see here in command prompt in the integrated terminal. So same way, whatever you see in command prompt, you can do it using our VS Code using integrated terminal, right? So ng serve dash dash open command builds and runs the application. By default, the application runs at port number 4200. So you can see one URL generated by the Angular, that is Angular Live Development Server, and it is listening on localhost. It is the port number 4200. It is the default port. So you can change this port number if you want to. So you should go through my videos in my playlist called Angular CLI. There I have mentioned how to change the port number. So we'll discuss how to do it in my upcoming video. Also I have discussed in my previous videos as well in my playlist. You can check those. So when the application is served in the browser, you can see generated bundles on the elements tab. So if I'll go to my this one browser, go to inspect element, right? And so in the inspect element, I'll show you what are the files is there. So if you expand this bodies, so you can see when the application is served in the browser, you can see generated bundles on the elements tab in browser development tools. You can see the same files whatever see here, the same files is in the elements tab. You can see runtime.js, polyfills.js, style.js, vendor.js, and main.js. So if I'll just refresh it, and I'll expand this. I just close this one element tab and go to inspect element, and I'll check in the elements tab whatever the files should be shown at the time of solving the application using the browser. So if you'll expand this body, so you can see that is the files, right? main.js, vendor.js, style.js, and polyfills.js, and runtime.js. This is all the JS file, right? So if you'll expand this, you can see this is the style.css. So whatever you can see, there is 6 files. That is the one JS files is 5 JS files and 1 CSS file. So in the browser elements tab, you can see 1 CSS file and 5 JS files, right? So and you can also see these bundles on the source tab in browser development tools. So if you'll hit sources tab, and you can see all these bundles in the left hand side, right? So if you click on main.js, you can see the contents of these files of main.js as well polyfills.js. This is for runtime.js, right? You can see here all these contents of this runtime.js. So if you click on style.js, you can see the content of style.js, and if you click on vendor.js, this is the content, and if you as well, this is the style.css, this is the CSS content. Like this we can check using our browser developer tools. And so to see the bundles along with their sizes, click on the network tab. So if I'll click on the network tab, so if you don't see these bundles, just refresh it, right? So I'll refresh here. So guys, after refreshing, you can see all these bundles has been loaded here under the network tab, right? And you can refresh it, or you can refresh the browser windows by pressing F5. So you can see all these bundles has been loaded here. So you can see this is the for runtime.js, the size is, you can see that size here, and for polyfills you can see the size column, and for vendors main.js, style.js, style.css, you can see these sizes of these files, and so many informations about status type, what are the type of this file. You can see for styles.css, it is the type is stylesheet, and for JS file the type is script, and what is the initiator, it is home, and what is the size, what is the timing, waterfall. You can see all the details in the network tab. So in addition to bundling, we can also use other optimization technique like ahead of time, compilation, minification, uglification, and tree shaking to improve performance. So we'll discuss these techniques in my next videos. So the ng-serve command builds and serves the application from memory for a faster development experience. So it does not write the build artifacts to the disk. So we cannot use this command if you want to deploy the build to another server. For example, if you want to deploy your Angular application to a test server for testing or to the production server, we cannot use ng-serve. We instead use ng-build. This command writes the build artifacts to the specified output folder. So the application can be deployed elsewhere, right? So we'll discuss this ng-build in my next videos. So to customize the in-memory build that the ng-serve command produces, there are several options that we can use along with this ng-serve command. So that's all about what is the bundling and how to check the details about the bundling files and the JS files, CSS files. So I'll go to my presentation here. So how to compile and run an Angular application. So we have been using the following command to build and run our application: ng-serve space -- open, and bundling for performance. So bundling is the process of joining multiple files into a single file. Third-party libraries like Angular and other dependencies will be bundled into vendor.js. And Angular CLI runs Webpack to build and bundle all JavaScript and CSS code. So this is all the JS file and CSS files which is related to bundling when we build and run and compile our Angular application in using command prompt. So we already have discussed about these files and details. So this is my YouTube channel. Subscribe and share it to get the up-to-date knowledge on .NET, .NET Core, C#, SQL Server, DevOps, and Azure. So in this video, what we have learned today, that is how to compile and run our Angular application locally, and what is happening in the behind during build and run our Angular application, and what is bundling and why it is important for performance of Angular application. So that's all for today, guys. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.